Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, July 14, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we need to highlight this post made by Danny Morris today. He's one of those persons on X that you need to follow if you haven't been doing so already. He actually made a post today stating after 93L, which is what we have across the waters of the southeastern United States, the Atlantic basin will likely have more attempts at producing tropical cyclones. First, a leading CCKW, that's a convectively coupled Kelvin wave, will pass through the basin, which may help spawn an AEW, that's an African easterly wave, in the main development region. Afterwards, the MJO will propagate eastward and open up a larger window for development. And here we have it. We've been talking a lot about the MJO coming in, and we see the rising air as represented by the whites into the greens. That's expected from, look at this time frame, let's say around July 20 all the way down into, what is this time frame? This is August 16. So the Atlantic is starting, getting ready to ramp up for sure. It's going to be propagating eastward firstly though, so it's going to be starting in the Gulf, in the Caribbean, then all of the rising air pushing off to the east, especially over here. We have Africa for the time period from August 6 all the way back to August 16. We're definitely going to be seeing a lot of tropical waves coming off of Africa and making their way, pushing towards the west. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, we can see that as of their latest update that just came out at 7:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Alright, so we just reloaded it. That code yellow became a code orange. So they've increased the chances for this system right here that's affecting portion of the northern Bahamas and Florida to push into the northern Gulf and become our next named system. And we know that our next named system is Dexter. Let us read what they've stated. Alright, so they said here, and the area of low pressure located offshore of the east coast of Florida continues to produce disorganized showers and thunderstorms primarily south of the center. This system is forecast to move westward across the Florida Peninsula on Tuesday and Tuesday night, eventually moving into the northeastern Gulf by the middle part of this week. Environmental conditions appear generally favorable for additional development if the system remains offshore, and a tropical depression could form as the system moves across the northeastern and north central Gulf by the middle to latter part of this week. Regardless of development, heavy rainfall could produce localized flash flooding over portions of Florida and the north central Gulf Coast through the middle to latter portion of this week. And we see that now they've given the system a 30% chance of cyclone formation within the next 48 hours, that's next 2 days, and a 40% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. On another note, the Eastern Pacific still showing that tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why still looking at all of these clouds associated with the intertropical convergence zone. Even although this one looks a bit impressive right here to the southwest of Mexico, not really seeing much in the way of organization according to the Hurricane Center. And we know that if something should form over here, the next name on the list is Gil. On the Western Pacific side of things, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center here highlighting 3 entities. We have subtropical depression number 7 that's across Japan as we speak. Tropical storm Nari to the northeast of Japan, and to the south of Japan we have 97 W, something that could formulate. We can make out all of these entities, the spin associated with the subtropical depression. I believe the tropical storm Nari is somewhere up here, and the invest should be somewhere down in here. And if we take a look at what they're showing, so we see that there is a chance of some tropical cyclone formation of whatever is to the south of Japan, and we see that it could push northward. Very interesting. And regarding the other system now, it's definitely right here across the southwestern islands of Japan, packing maximum sustained winds of 25 knots. Definitely not strong at all, but we know it's definitely close to tropical depression status, but it is a subtropical storm as of their latest update. And regarding tropical storm Nari, we still see it right here. It's definitely moved quickly. It's right here now across northeastern portions of the mainland of Japan, and it should continue pushing off towards the northeast. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see the area of low pressure and the trough attached to it associated with that code orange that could push into the northern Gulf and develop. We see a ridge of higher pressure to the north that we know is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We see a tropical wave right here to the east of the Caribbean, another tropical wave right here to the east of that tropical wave. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, we can make out the clouds associated with that system that's trying to develop, definitely looking a bit more impressive than it did yesterday. The other tropical wave right here to the east of the Lesser Antilles, and the other tropical wave right here to the east of that one for sure. And we see a lot of clouds right here off the coast of Africa associated with the intertropical convergence zone as well, and most of these entities, as you can see here, are pushing from east-west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north, and we still have that strong upper level wind shear blowing those high cirrus clouds off from southwest to northeast across the central Caribbean. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean to the later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, July 14, 2025. It was stated that rainfall could have been in the forecast of parts of some southern parishes on Monday afternoon. And we know southern Jamaica, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarence, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. And what ended up happening? A post was made here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, and I'd like for you to keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but they're also made on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So at that time, that was 2:01 p.m. the visible satellite image was posted, but not only the visible satellite imagery, but it was definitely a post here highlighting a friend of mine driving from Clarendon to St. Catherine towards Old Harbour, where he was definitely getting in on some decent rainfall. Definitely some decent rainfall to the point where people of Jamaica were definitely jealous, but it was what was predicted, rainfall for southern Jamaica, because the visible satellite images showed the cloud cover across sections of Manchester, sections of St. Elizabeth, eastern Clarendon, sections of St. Catherine for sure gotten on the overcast skies, if not some isolated shore activity. And if we take a look at the visible satellite image right here, before we lost sunlight, we definitely saw where we had the thunderstorms across sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, section of Clarendon, St. Catherine. That's where the brunt of the weather was today. And if we take a look at the infrared, we can see the upper level cumulonimbus clouds even better, all of the blues, greens, yellows, oranges, red, not to mention the sparkling white dots that we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. So we definitely have the thunderstorms across sections of St. Elizabeth, sections of Manchester, sections of western and eastern Clarendon, section of St. Catherine for sure, and those high cloud tops were being sheared off towards the south by that upper level wind shear, just as predicted. And according to the live camera here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel, did we get in on any rainfall? Oh yes, we did. Bagwalk Gorge right here at around 2:12 p.m. showing that the flat bridge is soaking wet at that time. Hold on, 2:12. So it was a bit after that. There we go. So they definitely got some rainfall around there. 2:24 p.m. for sure. There much needed rainfall. I'm sure they're happy for the little rainfall that took place around there. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe to this so that you don't miss out. Even the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website is confirming where we had that rainfall today across mainly sections of some southern parishes, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, sections of St. Catherine for sure. And we definitely have some comments from some of our followers about what the weather was like in their area today. We had Harmony stating Contra Luna get the rain cause town hot. And we had Wito or Wit6 stating me say hot. Super League stating raining in St. Elizabeth. Thanks for confirming. Davis stating not a drop of water to even reach McCook's pen. Even on our Instagram page where the comments coming in. One Ryan that underscore stating hot in Hanover. Lafergs 876 stating must be nice. Ophelia Solomon and Kingston just hot so. Rem underscore JA Norman Portmore Salt Jaja. We also have Shamoya underscore Kramer stating South St. Elizabeth nice. We have Kayla underscore Aquarius underscore Feb underscore 1 stating Son Hatta Linstead. We have another one here. It's underscore Chevy 2 stating we're at Clarendon this. This is southeastern Clarendon, right there on the border of Clarendon and St. Catherine, right there near Old Harbour. We have Tejan that 876 stating that way him assure didn't even Clarendon that cause no rain no day Clarendon because place hot. Well, it's definitely piece of Clarendon into St. Catherine right there. That was confirmed by the person who was driving there, and I do believe him. We also have on our Facebook page Latoya Taylor stating get rain in St. Elizabeth with lightning and thunder. Randale Green, good afternoon. With the Jamaica, we don't have any rain in Brownstone, St. Anne. No, it's very hot, sunny in St. Anne right now. And finally, we have Gunnar Princess stating fall in Old Harbour as well. Thank you all for confirming what the weather was like in your area for today. Alright, so let us see what's happening right now according to the latest still image from the Weather Nerds website. And the latest still image is showing 23:45 UTC, which is actually 6:45 p.m. So this just came out. Well, it came out a good 30 minutes ago. Interesting that it's showing outdated imagery. Oh, I guess we have to work with it. As you can see, not really much of anything taking place across the island for the past 30-35 minutes. And the Doppler radar imagery confirms it. Nothing taking place on the Cuban Doppler radar. It has reloaded the Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar and the latest Cayman radar to confirm. The latest Cuban Doppler radar looks like it might have glitched out again at around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 5 p.m. Jamaica time. As you can see here, not really much of anything taking place across the island of Jamaica. The Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar showing some amount of rainfall across sections of southeastern Cuba. The western peninsula of Haiti, not really seeing much of anything across northeastern Jamaica. And if we take a look at the Cayman radar, we can actually make out some rain bands that took place across sections of Cuba today. Don't see much of anything across the Cayman Islands or western Jamaica though. And if we take a look here at the live camera, here we go. Downtown Kingston, showing that it's definitely dark. It's nighttime now, or evening time. And we see people walking about, going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place, as you can see right here. And that should be the order of the evening. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, weekends now at 27 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday, and we see Jamaica embedded in grays and some slight blues that represents average to slightly below average temperatures. I know the average temperature for the month of July across Jamaica is around 91 degrees Fahrenheit. When that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 32.8 degrees Celsius. So you should be receiving anywhere from 31.8 to 32.8 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. And unfortunately, we have a few maintenance outage advisories here that we have to highlight. I know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, please let them know that the power outage is coming their way on Tuesday, July 15, 2025. Referring to Roselle District, White Horses, Creighton Hall, Prospect Pen, all in the parish of St. Thomas, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We also have a maintenance outage advisory up for Anchovy Housing Scheme in Portland from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Even Trinity, Hope Village, Belfield, Blue Mountain, Banana Ground, Daviton, Chavelli, and Bel Air, all in the parish of Manchester from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have outage advisories up for Hopewell Gardens or Discovery Bay in St. Anne from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Dumbarton as well as Minard in St. Anne as well from 9:15 a.m. to 4 p.m. And yes, I already said this one for St. Thomas. Finally, we have Truman Avenue in St. Anne from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and Kings Avenue in St. Anne as well from 1:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It says here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. Be cool, stay indoors, and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of keeping hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty. And put away those sugary drinks and drink water instead. The dry air map still showing all of the dry air extending all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean, as represented by these yellows and the oranges into the red that we see on the key on the bottom. I know the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain. And if you notice, most of the moist air in the blues is where we have most of the clouds across the intertropical convergence zone of the Atlantic, the Eastern Pacific, the Gulf into the Southwestern Atlantic. And that's what we want to see more of, more moist air so that we get more clouds to bring us more rainfall to keep water in our pipes. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast, so we're heading into June 15 tomorrow, am I right? Yep. As you can see, we're experiencing the last of the Saharan dust. Then June 16 we're in the clear, June 17 we're in the clear as well, but look at that. It looks like by June 18, some of the Saharan dust that's currently moving across the main development region should make it back into the Jamaica era. As you can see it there by June 16 into the 17 across the Eastern Caribbean. Definitely on its way for sure. I know the Saharan dust is not a good thing in terms of, keeping us healthy. Respiratory illnesses is what it causes. Asthma, sinusitis, although it's good for agriculture, replenishing the soil, and all of those lovely things, we really don't want the Saharan dust at all. We like to see the blue skies, and we like it when we can breathe properly. The wave forecast still showing that the highest waves are right here to the far south of Jamaica, the dark blues into the purples and the pinks. That represents the 2 to 2.5 meter wave heights, and that's because of the strong easterlies right down here to the north of Colombia. All of where you see the yellows, that's up to 25, maybe even close to 30 knot winds. And regarding Jamaica's wave forecast, still seeing that the highest waves are across the eastern and the south coast for sure. That's where the blues are, up to 1.3 meter wave height right here to the south of St. Thomas, to the south of Clarendon 0.7 of a meter wave height, to the south of Westmoreland 0.6 of a meter wave height, to the north of Hanover 0.5 of a meter wave height, to the north of St. Anne 0.7 of a meter wave height, to the north of Portland 0.9 of a meter wave height. And that's because of the easterly winds that are expected for sure tomorrow, averaging 15 knots to the south of St. Thomas, 13 knots to the north of Portland, 16 knots to the south of Manchester. And we see where the air is expected to pile up once again across sections of maybe central and western parishes. Let us see what the GFS has it. Yep, somewhere similar. It could be more so northern and western parishes for sure, given where the low level air is pushing across the south coast. And with the upper level winds coming in from the north, it could favor more of those thunderstorms being blown off, or the cloud tops from the thunderstorms being blown off towards the south. Something similar to what we had happen today. More cloud tops are going to be shearing off towards the south coast for sure. And regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And what do both maps show? We see the consensus for the blues represent rainfall across mainly central and western parishes. The GFS is more so northern and western parishes like St. Anne, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester, northern Clarendon, and northwestern St. Catherine. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out tomorrow, but given where the winds are blowing, definitely looking like it's going to be pushing more off towards the north coast and the cloud tops blowing off towards the south. Very interesting day, so look out for that rainfall. My bet is on the rainfall more so across central and western parishes rather than northern and western parishes. We'll see how all of that plays out. Either way, in terms of the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps, we see that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. The Euro a bit more, so up to 0.3 of an inch of rainfall in the yellows. GFS only up at least 0.21 of an inch of rainfall in the greens. Whatever happens, we'll take it because we're in the month of July. We're in one of our driest months. And in Kingston's bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive around 50 millimeters of rainfall in July. In Montego Bay's bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom. We usually receive around 3.2 inches of rainfall for the month of July. And if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of July or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer modelers that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. As the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represent inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. First of all, we just looked at Tuesday, so now let's look at Wednesday, and by Wednesday, 12Z at that's around 7 a.m. We see a lot of moisture across the northern Gulf associated with that code orange that's trying to develop, and we start on both the Euro and the GFS. Interesting. 12Z on the Euro though, 7 a.m. we see some rainfall across the far eastern end of Jamaica. What do we see on Wednesday afternoon? Maybe some rainfall across central and western parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning? Thursday morning we see some rain bands to the south of us, to the north of us. Thursday afternoon, eastern, central and western parishes with that rainfall. Wednesday morning on the GFS, eastern parishes with that rainfall. Wednesday afternoon, central and western parishes just like what the Euro was showing. Thursday morning, rainfall across the far eastern end. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across mainly central and western parishes. Interesting. That's what Friday shows. Friday morning, rainfall to the south and the southwest of us. Friday afternoon, nothing at all. Saturday morning, what do we see? Maybe some rainfall to the north and east of us. Saturday afternoon, rainfall mainly across sections of some eastern, southern, and western parishes. Let us see what Thursday and Friday look like. Let us see. Yeah, Friday and Saturday looks like on the GFS. Friday morning, maybe some rainfall across the far eastern end. Friday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across the far western end of the island. Saturday morning, rainfall looks like it's across the northeastern end. Saturday afternoon, looks like the rainfall is across central and western parishes. Interesting. What do we see for Sunday morning on the Euro? Sunday morning, maybe some rainfall out east, maybe some rainfall out west. Sunday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across eastern, northern, and western parishes. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Monday, July 21. We see some rainfall across the far eastern end of Jamaica. What do we see on the GFS? Sunday morning, rainfall across the far eastern and northeastern end. Sunday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, northern, and western parishes. And then we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. Not really seeing much taking place, but it's a bit, wetter than what we've been experiencing in the first half of July, and we'll definitely take it for sure. Going to be more afternoon rainfall coming in, especially across central and western parishes, and we will definitely take it. But regarding the total accumulated precipitation forecast, we clearly see that the most rainfall over the next 7 days is still going to be wherever we have the dark reds into the purples and the pinks. That represents the 2 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall for portions of northern South America into Central America. Portions of Florida and Cuba still involved in that, so some isolated flash flooding could take place, while other areas that are shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, and reds up to an inch of rainfall at least. Definitely expected for a portion of the Greater Antilles into the Lesser Antilles. And regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation, we still see on the Euro that the most rainfall over the next 7 days should be across the far eastern end of the island, where we have 52 millimeters of rainfall expected. GFS is adamant that the most rainfall over the next 7 days should be across the western end of the cockpit country, to be exact, for up to 53 millimeters of rainfall at that. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Regarding the rest of the basin, as stated, we're still watching that code orange right here to the east of Florida that could develop. We still see the usual thunderstorms across sections of Cuba, the usual thunderstorms across sections of northern South America. The tropical wave about to make, landfall into portions of the eastern Caribbean islands, as you can see here. And the Doppler radar imagery confirms all of what we just saw on the satellite imagery. We see all of the moisture, the greens into the yellows that represent some light moderate, some slightly heavy rainfall coming into portion of the Leeward Islands. We see some of those rain bands to the west of Puerto Rico. Unloading these images from earlier today, we saw that northern and western Puerto Rico definitely got on some decent rainfall. We also see some rain bands pushing in from the east towards Barbados, some rainfall right here to the north of Barbados pushing towards Martinique, St. Lucia right there. We also see some rain bands coming into section of St. Vincent and the Grenadine Islands right in here. And regarding the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see some of that rainfall across northern Florida, southern Florida, then northern Bahamas, section of Cuba earlier today. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the year and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall over the next 24 hours should be across section of Florida, the northern Bahamas, Cuba, section of Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands, the Windward Islands, so the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, section of Barbados, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, southern Nicaragua, maybe even section of Guatemala and the Yucatan Peninsula getting in on some of that. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.